Welcome to AHG Connects, where voices, information, and resources are empowered intentionally.
Roundtable live stream digital media show. My name is Jen Markevich-Wagman, and I am president and founder of GenVETS, the nonprofit veteran service organization. Today is December 11th, 2024. December is AIDS Awareness and National Human Rights Month. GenVETS is a nonprofit service organization that serves the military and veteran communities and their families and caregivers. We do this by providing tools and resources to help them better understand and navigate the VA benefit system through our website with published information, live and recorded online VA benefits trainings, as well as live community outreach events that offer live VA benefits training sessions and transition assistance. We also offer pro bono with assistance with filing VA claims and benefits appeals assistance when needed. However, I consider our primary mission to be working to change the narrative between those seeking benefits, resources, and programs, and those who provide them. And that includes government agencies, public and private nonprofits, and foundations. So what does that mean? It means bringing both groups of people to the proverbial table and reintroducing them to each other with a moderator and at times a mediator. That's me. And that happens right here on the America's Heroes Network with this podcast, Generally Speaking, Vets with Jen. I've worked for over 20 years in the veteran space for VA, National VSO, private practice, and alongside many other private veterans, nonprofits, and charities. And what has become crystal clear to me over the last 5 years in particular is that a climate of mistrust, miscommunication, misunderstanding, and misperception within the military and veteran communities have created a situation where their overall physical and mental health is being compromised at an alarming rate. In large part, the number who utilize the existing federal and state government programs, services, resources, and benefits available across the board, including those provided by national veteran service organizations and nonprofits, all of whom exist to assist or service them with very specific needs, are not being used. So, in my opinion, both sides need counseling, if you will. And my previous work experience has allowed me to develop a wide network of people in all of the places who are ready and willing to listen and hear what I bring to them. So my experience with my clients, veterans and active duty military, and those with whom I meet every day within the agencies and other nonprofits and foundations with my work with GenVETS assures me that the military and veteran communities are ready and willing to be heard, but also to listen and hear what I may have to inform them about concerning their approach toward policy, assistance, and benefits. In that spirit, my first guest tonight is Crystal Romero, and we are going to talk tonight about what moral injury is and what that means. Master Sergeant retired Crystal Romero, her life and career encapsulate the embodiment of dedication, resilience, and advocacy, painting a portrait of a veteran who has seamlessly transitioned her formidable skills from military service to impactful civilian activism. Crystal's military career spanned over 16 years with the U.S. Army National Guard, primarily in a full-time capacity, where she embraced a multitude of roles and responsibilities that not only tested, but also honed her capabilities across various domains. Starting in logistics, Crystal's adaptability and commitment to excellence propelled her through 4 military occupational specialties, leading her to significant stints in public affairs as a chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear, and explosive specialist within the 64th Weapons of Mass Destruction Civil Support Team. Say that fast 3 times. Her remarkable contributions to operations, including the Space Shuttle Columbia recovery efforts and humanitarian relief for Hurricanes Katrina, Rita, and Ike, underscore her unwavering dedication to service and community. I would also like to say that Crystal has been an invaluable member of the GenVETS team. And since I've met her, our entire organization has benefited from all of the skills that you've just heard about. And she has personally introduced me and educated me as to what moral injury is and how it has impacted our veterans and military community. So I'd like to personally welcome you to the show and to thank you for everything that you have done for our organization and that you continue to do for the military and veteran communities today. So welcome.
Thank you. Hey,
So
real
I'd like
quick.
to
Wait, real
Okay,
quick.
go ahead.
It says that I was in the U.S. Navy. I was not in the U.S. Navy.
Where does this?
So,
Oh no, we have a bottom. Yes, no. Crystal
yeah,
was
so
Crystal was actually
I
in
like the
the
Navy.
U.S. Army National Guard for New Mexico. So we'll get that corrected.
Okay, sorry, just had to point that out.
So I guess the first question I have for you is, how would you define moral injury? This is a sort of an educational podcast to start with. I invited you on because I want this to sort of be the first of a series of podcasts that we do on moral injury and what it is and how it sort of spans across different areas of the spectrum in terms of what we're dealing with today, whether it's with PTSD, TBI, different injuries that occur within the veteran and military communities, because it has impacted in so many ways. And again, as I said to you, I didn't even know what it was, and that's after serving in 20 years of doing this until I met you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your question. I think your question was, how would I define moral injury?
Yes.
And moral injury occurs when someone feels that their deeply held values have been violated, either by someone that was like their command or their boss or maybe a friend. Your values have been violated, either by something they did or by something that's been done to you. It's not just about what happened, it's about how it made them question their integrity or the world around them. Addressing moral injury is really critical because it goes to the core of who we are and how we see ourselves in the world. When it's left unaddressed, it can lead to profound pain, isolation, and even hopelessness. And it's the way I describe it is it's a wound to your soul, and it's very different from PTSD. The symptoms are kind of the same, but it's entirely different.
How is it different?
PTSD is often tied to fear and a fight or flight response stemming from life-threatening events. Moral injury, on the other hand, is rooted in guilt. Understanding this distinction allows us to tailor treatment and support. Healing moral injury requires addressing those deep-seated feelings of betrayal and reconciling them with your own values. And in the military, it can happen when someone in a high-stakes situation doesn't do the right thing and you witness that, or you may have been the perpetrator. You may have had to carry out an order that did not go in line with your beliefs, and it has different faces and it looks different for everybody, but it's betrayal trauma, really, and you basically have betrayed yourself is one way to look at it, but also you may have been betrayed by someone.
So, if I may ask, if you would go into this, what was your first experience with moral injury, and how did it shape your personal career path and life path? I know the answer, and it's something that I'd like to go into more in detail. It would probably take an entire show, if not two, which we will do at some point. But if you could sort of sum up a little bit.
I first encountered moral injury during my time in the military when I was advocating on behalf of soldiers who had turned to drugs and alcohol. And unfortunately, it was just a it was just like a retaliation situation. You know, I'd brought to the attention a safety issue and also reported a coworker for not doing their job. And because that my coworker was the daughter of a 3-star general, retired general, and I didn't even, I mean, I didn't have a chance. She just, you know, called her dad, and my life was made a living hell. And the resistance and the backlash that I faced really shook my belief in the system that I had dedicated my life to. And that moment really changed everything for me. And it was pretty devastating, but it also set me on a path of advocacy and healing. So, not just for myself, but for others navigating similar experiences.
So you are an example for me of how moral injury is something that can actually be something that you turn and use for a different purpose. I know that there are others that have turned toward you. I know because I've, for everybody, I have been in several different, I will say, public places. I've met with different leaders of different organizations, some very well respected leaders, doctors, who I will be speaking with, and I will, for whatever reason, Crystal's name will come up, and the response is, "Of course, I know Crystal Romero. Anybody who's in this space knows Crystal Romero." You know, it's one of the she's who's of the who's who, and you know it. I don't know why it makes me laugh, because she's so tiny. If you can't see her like by looking at her right now, but the first time I met her, she's literally this little teeny peanut of a person, but she's so mighty in everything that she does. You do not mess with this woman. And so she is such a fierce advocate for the underdog. And, you know, uh, from how she grew up to how she joined the military and what it did for her. And then when she was within the military, the work that she, you know, from every different MOS that she was in, but to the one that she ended up in, where she was an advocate for, you know, victims of sexual assault and within encouraging drug treatment programs. When she saw that someone wasn't doing their job and safety was an issue for some of these people in the service, she took offense to it, and it became something where it wasn't a matter of whose daughter this was. She didn't care whose daughter it was. She was warned time and time and time again, do not mess with this family. Do not do, you know, you don't. The quote I've read over and over is, "I'm not biting the hand that feeds me." And Crystal was like, "I don't care. This needs to be taken care of." And she didn't. And it affected the rest of her career. It's changed her life. And yet what strikes me is that even 12 years later, she has turned that around and is making it so that other people understand what has happened and what this is. And she's changed the lives of so many people. So I am just so in awe of her and what she's done and how tiny she is. my kids and I were just talking about the other night, you know, we laugh about how adorable and tiny and scary you are at the same time. So, well, you've also, I would like to go into some of the healing, the treatments that you have done. I can't personally pronounce them, so I'm not going to try, but there are a variety of ceremonies that you've experienced that have helped you process your moral injury. So I'd like you to pronounce them and not embarrass me.
Okay. And I have a funny story about one of my integration coaches too. So I've done a lot of healing exploration through with psychedelics. I almost couldn't pronounce it either. Specifically ayahuasca and psilocybin. I just recently came back from Jamaica, where I did 3 psilocybin ceremonies, and I came back kind of like a whole different person. And these ceremonies really have helped me to confront the pain that I had buried for so long. And they've allowed me to see myself with compassion and to process those feelings of guilt and shame and betrayal in the way that traditional therapies hadn't. And it wasn't easy. It was intense and raw, but it brought a sense of clarity and peace that I hadn't felt in years. And I'm really grateful for the VA. I've done a lot of treatment. I've done EMDR. I've done the transcranial magnetic stimulation. I've done cognitive processing therapy, dialectical behavior therapy, and I've had 3 stellate ganglion blocks with 2 of them were here, and 1 was in Maryland with Dr. Lynch. But psychedelics have been like the breakthrough for me. I was really able to start to kind of forgive myself and to love myself again. I had kind of like I was in like this self-hatred mode, and you could tell it too, like when you talk to me. I mean, a lot of people that met me 4 years ago, um, this was when I first went back to my leadership and said, "Hey, you know what? Like, you really treated me really badly, and I want to talk about it because the things that I was put through is just it's not okay. It's not okay." But I also was really, really angry because I had like a delayed realization, and I'm like, man, I was like really, really treated really badly. And when I went and I presented that to them, they kind of just looked at me like, what are you talking about? Like, you weren't treated badly. Just like completely gaslighting me and validating my experiences, like completely. And that made me really angry because
Well,
I thought enough time had passed where, we could actually sit down like a bunch of adults and have a conversation. And they were just like, no, that didn't happen. And that is, that's just kind of where it started, where the anger kind of just surfaced. And it really wasn't anger, Jen, it was grief, but it showed up as anger. And I've been to Peru twice. There's an organization called Heroic Hearts Project.
what's it
And
called?
Heroic Hearts Project.
Okay.
And it was founded by Army Ranger Jesse Gould. And it affords veterans to go and seek, basically psychedelic assisted therapy out of the country. Unfortunately, we have to travel out of the country to have access to it. But I went and did 2 trips to Peru a year apart and to do ayahuasca. And I told you I had a funny story because you said that I'm like really tiny. My first integration coach, her name is Juliana Mercer. She's like amazing. I love her so much. When I met her in Indiana for the first time, I had worked with her. She was my coach. We met on Zoom and stuff. This was like back in 2022. And, obviously I'd only seen her on screen. Well, in August of this year, I was in Indiana with you. and I met her face to face. And the first thing she did when she saw me, she was like, "Oh my gosh, like you're so tiny." And I was like, man, I wish I could get like $10, not $1, $10 for every time someone said that, because I got bills to pay. But anyway, but my second integration coach was former Navy SEAL Diego Ugalde, and he's incredible too. I mean, both of them really, really helped me to prepare for the trip, prepare to do the psychedelics, to set intentions, to be very intentional with what I wanted to do and what I wanted to get out of it. And I'm like, I just want to stop being so pissed off all the time, because my energy was.
What are the misconceptions about psychedelics? Do you think is it becoming something that's more acceptable? Is it something that you find resistance with? And how do you see this evolving? Because I hear it. The first time I heard it, I was like, wait, what? And you've taught me a lot. Juliana Mercer, I've read a lot about. I respect her a lot. So explain a little bit more about what this is and how it's evolving as a treatment and becoming more acceptable.
Well, I won't go into too much detail because I am not a subject matter expert in it. I can only tell you from my experience of working with it.
Mhm.
But
Well,
from
maybe we can have
like,
Juliana come
yeah,
on. Yeah.
Juliana, Jesse, Diego, I mean, they are the experts, really. They're the ones that are leading the charge on this. But what I will say is this, is that we need veterans, everybody, not just veterans, needs access to these medicines. It's plant medicine. It shouldn't be, against the law to want to heal yourself. And I think, and it's not for everybody. I've learned a lot this last few years about, that it is not a one size fits all type treatment. If you have like a predisposition for like schizophrenia or there's other medical things that can disqualify you from, like, you shouldn't do it. It could be dangerous. But that's why having someone like guide you through the process and having a proper medical screening is really, really important because it prevents like any injuries or anything bad from happening.
That's a
The
interesting, good point. Yes. Okay.
the medical screening process is very thorough, and that's why it's just really important to work with a professional with this. It's not something that and it's not like, oh, I'm going to go do 4 grams and like just go rolling. A lot of people call it rolling. No, it's not. It's more than that. It's about setting intentions. The setting is everything. It's not you do a bunch of mushrooms and then you go to a bonfire with your friends and everybody's drinking and partying and there's loud music. I mean, that sounds pretty fun, but that's not what it is. It's you're able to be in a safe space, and if you're safe and if you feel safe, you can really go inward with yourself and really address some of the root causes of what's hurting you. And as much as I would love to blame the military for, for all my trauma and for my moral injuries, for me, it goes way farther back. I mean, to before I was even born, really. My mom came from a lot of trauma, and I mean, she was pregnant with me, obviously. So like, I was just absorbing all that energy, and I came into this world, and it's been like, let's go ever since. But
I would like to hear what you had to say. You were grateful too. You said that you thanked VA for a lot of the help that you had received. Can you talk about that? Because we hear so much negativity about the treatment, and we only have a couple minutes left. Can you explain what you mean? Because I think it's important to express that and the positives that you have experienced along this journey as well, because there have been these alternative treatments, but as well, what else? What have you found positive?
I've been very lucky. I've had the same doctor. I'm seen at the Women's Veterans Clinic within the VA. It's kind of like its own little clinic on the second floor of my VA. But I've had the same doctor since 2014, and she is incredible. I mean, there's been times when I've gone in there, and the minute I just sit down and she's like, "Hey, how are you doing?" I'm just like, "Bleh!" And I just completely have a complete breakdown in her office.
That's
And
amazing.
she's like, "All right, let's give you a minute." And there's even been times when she's like, "Do you just need a hug?" And I'm like,
Oh.
"Yes, please." Oh, and you know what? Sometimes that's all I need.
Doctors like that, huh?
I know. Man, Dr. Kando, like, she needs a raise for real. She's really awesome. And but you know what? Anytime I've gone to her and just been honest with her, like, I am not doing well, doc. Like, I'm in a bad mood all the time. She's like, all right, well, let's see what we need to do to get you back on track. I mean, she's been great. The mental health clinic, the doctor that I did EMDR with, Dr. Glancy, she is amazing. I worked with her for 12 weeks, and when I first sat down with her, I was very angry. I was very angry. And by my 12th session, she said, I want you to know something. She says, when I first met you, she says, I could feel your anger. She's like, but I don't see that anymore when I look at you. And that, I guess, personal care,
Yes.
it just means the world to me.
Well,
So I'm
listen to
really,
you. I
really
mean, that's
grateful.
important here, VA, personal care from mental health
Yeah,
professionals, because there's not
yeah,
only a shortage nationwide, but there's a shortage within the VA healthcare system of mental health
yeah,
professionals. And,
yeah,
there are solutions that are being offered, and not all of them are necessarily being considered in the way that, the creative ways that we need to be thinking about getting them, whether it's looking at our medical schools and our programs, and looking to maybe, I don't know, recruit, offer scholarship programs to get people to come in. There are a lot of different ways we could be looking at mental health care professionals to come into the military service leadership. We need to be more creative about how we're doing that. And I love to hear the positive experience that you're expressing, because I don't think everyone realizes that is happening. I hear it so much, but I also hear so much of the negativity that I love hearing that, you have that good experience, and people need to hear it, not just from me, but from someone who's actually gone through it as well. So
yeah.
I
I
want
think,
to thank you so much. If you want to close with something, but we only have a couple of seconds. Did you want to say
okay.
something?
No, I was just going to say that, it's not everybody has the same experiences. Everybody has different VAs and different experiences. But I think that the more honest you are with your doctors about really what's going on with you, the better off you'll be. That's all I can say.
That's 100%. That's 100%. As with anything, it's they only can do with what they have, with what they get. They can only work with that. And if you're not giving them everything, they're not going to be able to give back. So, but
Right.
I
Yeah.
do, and not everyone is.
Thanks for
Not
having me
everyone
on.
is. All right. Well, I appreciate you. Thank you again for joining, and we'll be coming back with more on moral injury and dealing with different aspects of it. But have a wonderful holiday season, and it's been lovely talking with you tonight. Thank you. All
You
right.
too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Welcome to AHG Connects, where voices, information, and resources are empowered intentionally. Well, market, advertise, and sponsor your business with Vietnam veteran Cliff Kelly and America's Heroes Group, where information and resources are intentionally disseminated via radio, print, and social media. Call our office for more details at 312-803-2618.
I'm Ken Jennings. All of us here at Jeopardy want to thank you for your service to our nation. We truly honor and appreciate you, and what's more, we're looking for contestants like you to play on our show. So head to Jeopardy.com now and take the Anytime test, and we're looking forward to seeing you soon right here on the Alex Trebek stage.
Connects, where voices, information, and resources are empowered intentionally. Welcome to AHG Connects, where voices, information, and resources are empowered intentionally.
America's Heroes Group Roundtable live stream digital media show. My name is Jen Markevich Wagman, president and founder of the nonprofit veteran service organization GenVETS, and today is Wednesday, December 11th, 2024. December is AIDS Awareness and National Human Rights Month. GenVETS is a nonprofit veteran service organization that serves the military veteran communities and their families and caregivers. We do this by providing tools and resources to help them better understand and navigate VA benefits through our website with published information, live and recorded online VA benefits trainings, as well as live community outreach events that offer live VA benefits training sessions and transition assistance. We also assist veterans pro bono with filing VA claims for benefits and appeals when needed. However, I consider our primary mission to be working to change the narrative between those seeking benefits, resources, and programs, and those who provide them, including government agencies, public and private nonprofits and foundations. So what does that mean? It means bringing both groups of people to the proverbial table and reintroducing them to each other with a moderator and at times a mediator, and that's me. And that happens right here on the America's Heroes Network with this podcast. Generally speaking, that's with Jen. I have worked for over 20 years in the veteran space for VA, a national veteran service organization, in private practice, and alongside many other private veterans, nonprofits, and charities. And what has become crystal clear to me over the last 5 years in particular is that a climate of mistrust, miscommunication, misunderstanding, and misperception within the military and veteran communities have created a situation where their overall physical and mental health are being compromised at an alarming rate. In large part, the number who utilize the existing federal and state government programs, services, and resources and benefits available across the board, including those provided by national veteran service organizations, national and local nonprofits and foundations, all of whom exist or service them with very specific needs, are not being used. Both sides need counseling, if you will. And my previous work experience has allowed me to develop a wide network of people in all of those places who are ready and willing to listen and hear what I bring to them. My experience with my clients and those with whom I meet every day and work with through GenVETS assures me that military and veteran communities are ready and willing to be heard, but also to listen and hear what I may have to inform them about concerning their approach toward VA policy, assistance, and benefits. And that starts tonight. My guests tonight are Navy veteran and Jennifer Ross, who's actually an Air Force veteran, and Curtis Addleman, who's a Navy veteran. Jennifer Ross is the program director of the Upward Bound program at Catholic University and served in the United States Air Force as an intelligence specialist and retired in 2023. She spent the majority of her career providing strategic guidance and support to Department of Defense leadership in various roles around the globe. Since retirement, Jennifer has dedicated her time to support veterans organizations and nonprofits, including Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America, American Corporate Partners, and serves as the Vice President of Strategy for the New York Brigade, a student veteran-focused nonprofit. Jennifer has a bachelor's degree in intelligence studies from American Public Universities, a master's in organizational leadership from UMass Global, and is currently enrolled at Cornell University SC Johnson School of Business, pursuing her MBA. Curtis Addleman is the executive director of Military and Veteran Student Services at Catholic. Welcome to the show. So, that's a lot.
That's a lot to follow, man. I'm just saying. I don't know if I can live up to Jen's pedigree there.
Well, you know,
you said I thought you were gonna like cut and paste. I would have said, "Hey, I'm Jen."
I can't, with another Jen, I can't cut and paste. What can I tell you?
Okay. All right.
I would like you to tell me about Upward Bound because it's just amazing. And I want everyone else to hear about what I know.
You know, I will start because I have to reintroduce Curtis because my position wouldn't be as successful as it is without the work that Curtis actually began. So Veterans Upward Bound started at Catholic University. It's a grant program funded through the Department of Education, and Curtis was actually the first program director. He paved the way, set the program up, was the director for the first year, and then he was promoted into his executive director role for our Office of Military and Veteran Programs. I think he has not only established an amazing program, but then we've kind of taken it a step further through kind of Curtis's understanding and development of OMVP that, we were able to kind of put our two programs together and become an even bigger force for good. So I will turn it over to Curtis now.
Hey, don't turn it over to me. You're the star of the show here. I do feel as though we lost the other Jen for a moment there. I don't know where she went. So it's just going to be like we're at work again, talking to each other.
We do yell across the hall all day long.
So I got to say that the Veterans Upward Bound program is one of the least advertised, least publicized initiatives that the Department of Education has had, and it's been around since 1972. Jen and I have collectively 41 years of military experience, and neither of us heard about the program until after we retired.
And both of us would have qualified.
Yeah, 100% could have used those services had we knew it existed. And so the overall concept is that we are looking for low-income, first-generation college student veterans who are just looking to get back into school or in any other way that we can help them. So we try to fold that into workforce development, employment, housing, anything that prevents somebody from achieving their ultimate goal. Obviously, we are an institution of higher education, and everybody thinks of that and they go, okay, well, then you're here to get people a degree. You want them to enroll to get their tuition dollars. You're not wrong. However, we want to set the standard for what a institution of higher education can do to provide veterans, their families, everybody else, all of the resources that they need. If you don't know where your next meal's coming from, you don't know where you're living next week, or if you have some issues that you still need to work through, then you know what? College might not be for you at this point. Let's deal with those higher, or well, I guess, base needs before we start having that conversation of, hey, do you want to go back to school for a degree? Why? Let's get those things taken care of. And that's what Jen's been able to do. What did we do the math on this? You've been working in that position for like 7 months now. And is it 7? I don't even know. It feels like yesterday. But the amount of progress she has been able to make with this program from where I had it a year ago is just astonishing. I could not have asked for a better individual for the position or for the program in general.
What is the reception among the student population and across the city?
So as of right now, I'm going to caveat something here. We are funded to serve 125 veterans annually. If you go through our records right now, we are probably closer to the 160 mark because there is such a need, especially in the DMV, for programs like this. Everybody kind of forgets about the district, right? We're not a state. We don't have the state level VA. We don't have a lot of those outreach or nonprofits or state level programs that can help this population. Our research, which was not done by me and probably could be done a lot better, indicates that there's about 30,000 low-income, first-generation college student veterans in the district, just in the district. And we're talking, what, 25 square miles? That ain't much. So this program needs to be broadcast. People need to know it exists, because at the end of the day, veterans are, from the selfish standpoint of higher education, that's a lot of money. But from the overall, building a better community, building a better society, we have the ability to bring veterans into a space where they've traditionally been excluded. And what we've been able to do, I hate saying what we've been able to do, what Jen's been able to do has been so inspiring that I fully see us being able to build this program to serve a much larger area. And if I had my way, we'd be funded to serve 200 individuals right now.
Yeah, and I want to add to that. I think the biggest so obviously I was very deliberate when I was searching for my next role, and when I saw the ad for Veterans Upward Bound and the program director position, it just totally spoke to me because of my passion for just education in general. I think we see often that, students are separating from the military, or veterans are separating from the military and using their GI Bill. The recent study that just was published, less than 6 months ago, actually shows that 56% of separating veterans are tapping into that GI Bill benefit. But when it comes to graduation rates and then being able to work in the career field that they, ended up getting a degree in, those numbers are falling short. And I really think that just comes down to the fact that, veterans are being targeted for that GI Bill money, not because somebody necessarily wants to see them succeed, but because it's a giant pot of money. Where that's what I love about Veterans Upward Bound and the ability to work in this role is, I'm not going after academic teaching dollars. Like, I don't need your GI Bill. I just want to make sure that you get in the right program, in the right school, at the right time, when you can be successful. You're going to be able to finish, and you're going to be in a career field that you're actually passionate about. Just because you left the service as a maintainer or a security forces individual doesn't mean you need to, go into criminal justice. Doesn't mean you need to go into criminal justice or engineering. Like, maybe that's not your passion. That's one thing that I love that we have the ability to do, is really work with students, give them the time to figure out where they want to go, what they want to do, and what they're ready for.
Are you concerned at all about your funding? How does the uncertainty of the Department of Education and how does that all play into this for you?
I just had a conversation recently about this. I think the concern obviously is the negative connotation about Department of Ed. But honestly, I think it's because people don't truly understand what the Department of Education has done for them. If you look at the budgetary spending, only 2% of all government spending is going to education. And out of that, a fraction of ours is going to programs like Upward Bound. But if that money, even if that 2% is pushed down to the states, these larger programs that are able to kind of serve and cater to not just, state by state, but population by population, they'll go away. States won't have the ability to say, to direct education funding to just first generation. They'll have to direct it to, city by city. And so I think that's one of the things that people need to realize. Having a Department of Education allows these national level programs that can really tailor and open up the educational space to those who might not have already or been able to even attain, entrance into a program. Through Veterans Upward Bound, we provide tutoring. We provide interview preparation if you are applying to a program that requires an interview or a test or a GMAT or an SAT. At the same time, we also help veterans find just micro programs in something simple as like cybersecurity or, an IT cert. These are all things that we can do, and it's only possible because we have something like the Department of Education in place.
So that being said, I know we had talked about this a few weeks back, maybe, more like a month now, over a month. Is your plan, would your thought process be only states, or would you consider trying to go to VA? for assistance if you had to, because my thought wouldn't be to go to the states, it would be to go to VA. I wouldn't think you would have or state VA well before. I mean, and in my humble opinion, there needs to be a lot more participation with state VAs. We can't always go to big VA for everything. There's a lot going on there, and I personally think that a lot more responsibility can be given to the individual state. Service with our veterans starts in the states in which they reside. There needs to be, and I say this with all due respect, I'm not suggesting that every state is falling down on their or shirking responsibility. I think it's a discussion that needs to be had. It needs to be something where perhaps we need to sit down and talk about these things and raise thoughts that haven't been had before. And if the Department of Education is going to go away, then perhaps we need to, maybe the three of us go up to, Governor Moore and Anthony Woods, and we say, okay, let's have a discussion and talk about this, because they seem to be very reasonable people, and maybe they would enjoy hearing from the three of us, because I have spoken with the three of us, and we seem to be very reasonable and fun people as well. We've discussed that. We've agreed on that, right? So
I think we've agreed. We're definitely a fun group of people.
Yes, and I think that, and just speaking for the state of Maryland, who takes care of its veterans, I think it would be a good place to start. I have been very, very impressed with, as Secretary McDonough calls it, the new VA. I have been. I know that there are still things that need to be adjusted and fixed. I know people fixed. I know that veterans and are angry about things, and they have good reason to be. But I will say again, you don't throw out the baby with the bathwater, because you've had a bad experience with benefits decisions that have taken years and years and years. That doesn't mean there aren't programs and resources and other things that are available. So I would say the same thing with this sort of situation. It's worth giving it a chance. It's worth trying and still being willing to compromise and talk and have discussions, because there are so many people that have fresh new ideas. And, if you aren't willing to do that, if you aren't willing to stop listening to the old, and then I kind of sort of think.
Well, it's funny you say that. So, I mean, Curtis mentioned that the program, that Veterans Upward Bound, actually started in 1972. So when you think about that, this program is an old hat, but I feel like it could be totally revamped and revolutionized, especially if, say there is reason to believe that the Department of Education, loses a significant amount of funding. Well, it's really not a big ask to take a program that's already established. We already have clear metrics. We already have clear success stories to build upon, and putting a Veterans Upward Bound program in every state. There isn't one in every state right now. As a grant program, it can be written through. So obviously, Catholic University is our host. They were gracious enough to write, this grant proposal and secure the funding. But you can be a nonprofit. A nonprofit can actually run to write for this grant. A state, I would love to see each state have a Veterans Upward Bound that is able to service their veteran population. So, I think there's definitely room to discuss like where this program could go. In the event that, the Department of Education funding needed to, be shifted around a little bit. Well, we're just such a small microcosm of that anyway. Maybe the VA can pick it up. Maybe state funding can say, hey, you know what? We really believe in Veterans Upward Bound. We want to keep it for our community and help fund it in another way.
It's called pivoting, right? I mean, Ross is the one who
pivot. Sorry, I had
to. No, of course you did. Anybody who's anybody knows what that means. And if you don't know, then you don't know, right? Well, and I also, I didn't, at the beginning, I was remiss in not saying that I'm an alum of Catholic University School of Law. So, right. You might have had a little preferential treatment and why you got such great great space and time on this podcast, but I happen to be a big fan of Catholic University. So yes, well, I just am. I am also, I also have a nonprofit scholarship foundation for a classmate, a high school classmate of mine who was killed in action in Syria in 2016. And one of the things that we did when setting this up was we give 2 scholarships, a $1,500, this is for high school seniors, a $1,500 scholarship for a non-traditional career path or education path, and a traditional 4-year college. And this is sort of, I know it's, follow me here. It is something where, you can enlist in the military, whether you go to a trade school. It's for those who, like my classmate, Scott Dayton, he didn't know exactly what he wanted to do. He didn't have his life figured out. He didn't have everything. In fact, he had a judge quite nicely say to him, you may choose the Navy or you may choose the jail cell. And that was Scott. And he was, he was a clown. He was funny as hell. And but his life, he made his entire life in the Navy. And he became this amazing, he was a hero. And when he died, he was a hero. He was with an explosive ordnance. I'm going to screw it up because, of course, I can't make him the hero he is. EOD was attached to a SEAL team.
Right?
Yeah, he was what you are, your rank when you, Curtis, because I tried to say it and I couldn't. And I'm embarrassing the crap out of everybody in my high school who knows and loves him right now. And oh my God. And yeah, so wow, this is embarrassing. But yes. Chief Petty Officer, right? Is that?
You got it. You nailed it. Chief Petty
That's
Officer.
what he was. That's who he is. And you can look up the Dayton Legacy Memorial Scholarship Foundation. That's where you'll find all about him. And a great video I made for him too. But yes, that is the scholarship, and it's for the non-traditional. And that's what I think of when I think of Upward Bound. That was my point. When you don't have everything figured out, when you don't have that, and that is what is so special about it and so needed, is you don't have to have your life figured out when you're a freshman or sophomore in college, and it's so needed. And that includes when you're coming out, when you're transitioning out of the military. My God, So I think, and Jen, I just wanted to give you a real quick. We only have a few minutes left, but you're doing something else, Project Parity. Can you please tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, talk about that.
Yeah, no. So it's so exciting. And I actually have to highlight too, Curtis and the Catholic University actually just stood up their first Student Veteran of America chapter. Which is, yay! So now we're all
awesome. I did not know that. Well, we can do a whole nother show, Curtis.
Yeah, but so I was actually, I found myself, really finding my an advocacy voice since I took since I got out of the service. I don't know if it was just because I, felt I was free to talk about whatever I wanted to, or just that I, it feels
liberating, isn't it?
Yeah, and it just feels good to remain connected to a community that gave me so much. I still want to give back. So I applied for the VFW Student Veteran of America Legislative Fellowship, and I was selected. And in our advocacy project is the Guard and Reserve GI Bill Parity Act. And what after being in the military for 20 years, I had no idea that Guard and Reserve did not earn their GI Bill benefits at the same rate that active duty. So one day in uniform for a Guard and Reservist is not the same as an active duty member. So oftentimes, even if they're activated for national level or, emergency response, that doesn't count the same as a, one duty day. So many times, we have veterans at CUA right now who are only eligible for a portion of their GI Bill benefits, which also then negates their ability to use Yellow Ribbon. Unless you're 100% rated with your GI Bill, Yellow Ribbon benefits won't kick in. So this is something that I've learned just recently, and it was I was very excited to be able to speak about this and just bring awareness to the fact that there is a bill that has been proposed that would, allow Guard and Reserve to earn those days. We're not giving them extra days; it's just one for one, like you would expect any service member to be able to earn towards a GI Bill. I don't understand. There shouldn't be any difference. If you're willing to give up a day to serve your country, that day should count towards a benefit that an active duty service member earns as well. So there, I have, created a website. I'm sure we can, drop a link or something with you, Jen. But I'm
That would
looking
be
for anybody,
amazing.
any veteran who is interested or ever done education, take the survey. It's not just for Guard and Reserve. And then if you have been affected by, the policies, share your story. The stories of advocacy, the stories of the impact are what really, drives that message home. Like I said, learning about our veterans' stories at CUA really, really made me even more passionate about the topic, because I've seen how it can negatively impact a student's educational journey just because they weren't active duty, even though they had just as much, time in uniform.
Jen, I think in the new year, I'd love to have you back. Curtis, I think you would probably be good too to speak on GI benefits, educational benefits, because it's something I get asked about a lot. And there's been so many changes with the post 9/11 and the Montgomery bill since all of that. It would be amazing just to talk about that and clarify. Sometimes people just want to hear about the subject in and of itself, but I'd love to talk more about that too. We have to wrap up now, but if you'd be willing to come back on and give a little bit of an education and story, you guys are awesome. When I told people that you were going to be on, they were like, "That's awesome! You're so lucky to have them on." So you have a little bit of a following anyway. So I felt kind of cool. So
we are here for you anytime you want us. We would be honored to come back. This has been great. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk about this.
Thank you for coming. We'll have a happy holiday season, and you're the best. Thanks. Go
Thank
Catholic.
Welcome to AHG Connects, where voices, information, and resources are empowered intentionally. Welcome to AHG Connects, where voices, information, and resources are empowered intentionally. Market, advertise, and sponsor your business with Vietnam veteran Cliff Kelly and America's Heroes Group, where information and resources are intentionally disseminated via radio, print, and social media. Call our office for more details at 312-803-2618.
I'm Ken Jennings. All of us here at Jeopardy want to thank you for your service to our nation. We truly honor and appreciate you, and what's more, we're looking for contestants like you to play on our show. So head to Jeopardy.com now and take the Anytime test, and we're looking forward to seeing you soon right here on the Alex Trebek stage.
connects, where voices, information, and resources are empowered intentionally.
Good evening and welcome to America's Heroes Group Roundtable live stream digital media show. My name is Jen Markevich Wagman. I am president and founder of the nonprofit veteran service organization GenVETS. And today is Wednesday, December 11th, 2024. December is AIDS Awareness and National Human Rights Month. GenVETS is a nonprofit veteran service organization that serves the military, veteran communities, and their families and caregivers. We do this by providing tools and resources to help them better understand and navigate VA benefits through our website with published information, live and recorded online VA benefits trainings, as well as live community outreach events that offer live VA benefits training sessions and transition assistance. We also assist with pro bono claims and appeals for VA benefits when needed. However, I consider our primary mission to change the narrative between those who have served and their families and who are seeking help of any kind. And that happens right here on the America's Heroes Network with this podcast. Generally speaking, that's with Jen. I have worked for over 20 years in the veteran space for VA, a national VSO, private practice, and alongside many other private veterans, nonprofits, and charities. And what has become crystal clear over the last 5 years in particular is that a climate of mistrust, miscommunication, misunderstanding, and misperception within the military and veteran communities have created a situation where their overall physical and mental health are being compromised at an alarming rate. In large part, the number who utilize the existing federal and state government programs, services, resources, and benefits available across the board, including those provided by national VSOs, national and local nonprofits, and foundations, all of whom exist to assist or service them with very specific needs, are not being used. Both sides need counseling, if you will, and my previous work experience has allowed me to develop a wide network of people, and all of those places who are already willing and ready to listen are ready to hear what I bring to them. Joining me tonight from the Military Officers Association of America, MOA, is Jim Carmen, U.S. Navy retired, Leslie Janeros from the U.S. Air Force, and Brenda McMahon. At MOA, 360,000 plus strong and growing, is the nation's largest and most trusted military officers association. MOA works diligently to protect the earned benefits of uniformed service members, their families, and survivors across all ranks and all services. Founded in 1929, MOA is a powerful advocate for strong national defense, representing those who make it possible. They are the leading voice on compensation and benefits for the uniformed services community, and MOA was recently named by The Hill for the 18th straight year as a top lobbyist in the grassroots advocacy category for 2024. MOA's charities provide scholarships to children of service members and work to support veterans and their families in crisis. Committed to enhancing the lives of service members and their families at every stage, MOA is proud to serve those who serve and will be hosting their inaugural People Conference, Total Force Plus, in October 2025. I'd like you to help me welcome our guests tonight, Jim, Leslie, and Brendan. Welcome.
Thank you, Jen, for having us. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you for joining me. How are you all tonight?
Doing well, and excited to be a part of your podcast. I think I have a new friend in the National Capital Region, and I look forward to getting coffee with you.
Yes, me too. It was lovely getting to know somebody else who's excited as I am about things. It's hard to find that. Well, I would like to start tonight, with Brendan, I think. I wanted to know what innovative strategies MOA has recently used to amplify the voices of military families and veterans on Capitol Hill. What's going on there?
Absolutely. And first and foremost, thank you, Jen, for this opportunity. It's always very exciting. And for whatever reason this evening, my camera has decided to give me a very white halo. Not really sure what's going on there, but
mine went off a little on the last podcast. It went off altogether. So something as quirky is going on.
Absolutely, yes. And that's technology for you. So when it comes to the innovative strategies that MOA has really been trying to lean into, especially the last couple of years, I think first and foremost is how we utilize digital advocacy tools. So one of the things that MOA is very proud of is what we call our Legislative Action Center. It is a online tool that lets MOA members and non-members alike send messages on issues important to the uniformed services and veteran communities directly to their lawmakers. I think a real highlight of this was for what we called our Summer Advocacy and Action campaign during the month of August. We generated over 17,000 messages and had over 700 new signups in the span of 30 days.
Okay. Well,
and I think, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, absolutely. And I think just within that, this upcoming Congress especially has really shown the need for a strategic focus in terms of advocacy strategies. So for us having what we call a tiered approach, us being able to say, these are our core priorities, things that we can clearly show lawmakers, clearly show our constituents. These are the things that we are fighting for. It's not to say that personal issues aren't important, but if everything's a priority, nothing is a priority. And I think that's going to be very true for this upcoming year. And I think just to kind of close off the question, one of the features that I am personally very proud of at MOA is what we call our advisory councils. These are currently serving members, National Guard, their spouses, actual individuals that help feed into our advocacy efforts. They're ones that help our president, Brian Kelly, really make informed decisions about the issues that we need to prioritize. And I think that's a really unique feature of MOA and how we incorporate them into our strategies as well.
So that was my next question. How do you sort of prioritize when you have such a broad scope of topics that you have to deal with your membership, whether it's military pay or healthcare, veterans healthcare? Can you, I'm not even sure that I understand completely. How do you prioritize those in your next year? I know you touched upon some of that, and I apologize if you answered directly, but could you more focus in directly? What among the tools that you just described?
Absolutely, yes. So on our part, because MOA's mission has always been people first, the core focus for us is high quality healthcare, service earned benefits, and focusing on the quality of life improvements necessary for maintaining a healthy all volunteer force. So on our part, our core demographics that we focus on are the currently serving, retirees and veterans, spouses, survivors, DoD healthcare, VA healthcare. So on our end, we identify the top issue for those 5 groups, and that's what we say is our tier 1. We have tier 2 and tier 3, which are still important, but again, like I had said earlier, if everything's a priority, nothing's a priority. So by us being able to articulate internally and externally that we have a focused 5-set priority list, it makes it much easier to communicate with lawmakers and for our constituents to get involved as well. I mean, not for nothing, advocacy can be very intimidating. And if you aren't really sure where to begin or what to talk about, having a focused list can be really helpful. So I think within that, by having a focus list, by being able to align with member interests, getting their direct feedback, those advisory councils that I had mentioned, it really enables us to build a very robust and very focused strategy. And within that, even if we say like, hey, these are the things that we're working on, how do we know it's working? So within that, being able to have very tangible measures of success also enables us to say like, hey, what's working? What's not? Are these priorities resonating with Congress, or do we need to focus elsewhere in order to pursue equally important issues that actually might make it across the finish line?
I feel like I was given all of this advice on how to organize my professional life just recently. In terms of how to divide things up and how to focus them and address them and strategize. So it might have been from a MOA member, actually. So I'm all...
You never know. You never know.
You publish a book?
Secretly, I am an author. Not really, but I can go by a fake name if I need to when it comes to books.
Well, I wouldn't. My dad was a MOA member too, so if there's some sort of Jedi mind tricks that go on there, we'll discuss afterwards.
Most definitely, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Jim, I understand that MOA's presence on Capitol Hill is a big part of it. Can you talk to me about other areas that MOA serves the military community?
Sure, Jen, and thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to connect with you and your audience tonight.
Oh, thank you for coming.
As Brendan mentioned, we serve the entire military community, officers and enlisted, families and survivors, and we do this through advocacy, which Brendan described so thoroughly, as well as leadership, education, and service. And we have multiple programs in place to support this mission, and I'll highlight just a couple. We have a scholarship fund that provides about 1,100 undergraduate students every year with about $11 million in total grants and loans, interest-free loans and grants. And this program is open to the children of currently serving, as well as retired officers and enlisted families, as well as former officers. And the idea behind the scholarship fund is to recognize that military families, military children may not have time to establish deep roots in the community to make them competitive for other programs that might assist with college expenses. We also have a foundation, a MOA foundation, that functions in a similar manner as the service-specific relief agencies that other guests may have talked with you about over the years. And its focus is to prevent and protect veterans in crisis situations. The foundation provides small grants to veterans currently serving and their families who are adversely impacted by natural disasters and related events. The foundation was particularly active in Florida and the Carolinas after the two recent hurricanes. And we have a benefits education practice that delivers presentations via webinar and on all the major military bases discussing the fundamentals of financial management, preparing for the loss of a spouse, understanding VA benefits, and a wide range of topics to make veterans and their families and currently serving aware of their earned benefits. And we have a career transition practice that focuses on providing self-marketing assistance to currently serving and their spouses as they prepare for the transition from uniform service to career success. So I think this is an association that makes a difference for the entire military community, and we're proud of these community engagement programs.
It sounds like you have a lot to be proud of, for sure. Definitely. And do you have a major presence outside the Washington, D.C. metro area? What is this like across the country?
We have a nationwide network of councils and chapters that supplement our work. The councils and chapters are independent business entities but we provide encouragement and support to keep them engaged in three areas. First and foremost, we want them to be engaged in grassroots advocacy. Brendan and his team can go to Capitol Hill and knock on doors, but it's often more effective if a constituent is engaging with a member of Congress or their staffs back in the home office. And we encourage our chapter members to be involved in legislative advocacy. Being a little bit selfish, we also encourage our members to help us with the membership challenge by helping us connect with people in their local communities who may not know about the organization and some of the good work that we do. And we also encourage our councils and chapters to be engaged in impactful community service that builds the brand in local communities. Things like ROTC program support, junior ROTC program support, veterans courts. So several of our chapters are very active in veterans courts, and food banks, and maybe hospitality programs, particularly effective in remote areas to support servicemen and women who are away from home with a limited support structure.
Well, that actually leads very nicely into my next question, and it sort of touches on how Leslie and I sort of first became introduced, which was at, I guess it would be called a conference, Zero Mills, sort of a think tank, if you will, back in Georgetown in October, and basically coming together to discuss the challenges of recruiting and service in general in this country, and the challenges that we face in encouraging the civilian community to consider military service and keep the volunteer military service going. That's sort of one of the things that we touched upon. But what do you think that people can do within the civilian community to encourage young people?
Well, one thing that can really make a difference, military professionals often talk about how we recruit soldiers and sailors, but we retain families. And one of the most important elements in retaining families is for a military spouse to feel that he or she has some opportunities to grow professionally. Military spouses are a very well-educated cohort. Most have undergraduate degrees. Many have graduate degrees, and their unemployment rate is about 4 or 5 times the national average. National unemployment about 4.2%, military spouse unemployment about 24 or 25%, depending upon the survey. And this is a cohort that has a lot to give, a wealth of volunteer experience. They have served successfully in many different areas, and an openness to consider military spouses is very, very helpful to support recruiting and retention efforts. Surveys indicate that about 40% of current employees are actively looking for a new job. And if you consider the frequency that Gen Zs and millennials tend to change jobs, it's not a big deal, really, if you consider that a military spouse might move on in 2 to 3 years, because in that time, he or she can really add a lot of value to a small business in a particular geographic area. So I would say, first and foremost, an openness to consider military spouses as a value-added resource when you have to make staffing decisions, and also to encourage young people to consider the value of military service. There are probably people in your extended family who have served, and relaying their positive experiences can really make a difference. The best thing that happened to me was a Navy ROTC scholarship to the University of South Carolina 25 years ago, right after the dinosaurs died, and it led to so many positive.
Hey.
It led to so many positive things in my life, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to have served.
How does MOA support the families of the military families that are, how do you support in general military families?
Well, the educational programs that we champion that are focused on survivor benefits, accessing VA benefits, financial education, the fundamentals of financial management, these programs support military families. And for the 14 million military and veteran caregivers, we have an online guide focused on the legal and the financial aspects of veteran caregiving. These hidden heroes do a tremendous job meeting the needs of their survivor and their families. And we think that having this online guide focused on the legal and the financial aspects of military caregiving is a noble mission for an association of military officers.
I really thank you for having that on there. In fact, I'd love to link to it on my own site because I think that's really, really something that is necessary. It's needed. I didn't know you had that there.
moa.org/caregiver. Love your feedback if you ever take a look at it.
I plan to, but you're probably going to be teaching me a lot there too, because it's a complicated area and a lot has changed just in the last few years alone. So it's continuing legal education, as we call it. So yes. Well, Leslie, let me turn to you. Tell me about Total Force Plus and this inaugural conference I've heard so much about. Can you tell me what inspired it, what the initiative is?
I'm glad
so excited for it.
And I'm excited too, Jen. I know we've talked about it previously, but I'm excited to share it with your audience.
Yes.
The Total Force Plus conference is MOA's first conference of this size. We've done other events, but something of this scale is new to us. It's scheduled for October 2025. It'll be the 28th and 29th of October next year. It's going to be held at the Gaylord National Resort and Convention Center. We're anticipating more than 5,000 attendees.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right. Wow. It's going to include leaders from the military and from the DoD, industry experts, some of our industry partners that are out there that have solutions. That's what we're looking for. So we want them to join us as well. We're going to have nonprofit friends, some of our MSOs and VSOs that operate in this space to support military families, veterans and military spouses. We want them all to come together to really address the most pressing challenges, people-related challenges that are facing our national defense. I would say the inspiration for this conference for Total Force Plus really did come from our president and CEO, Lieutenant General retired Brian Kelly. He grew up in the people space. He was the A1 for the Air Force prior to becoming our president here at MOA. He brought a very clear vision when he joined MOA to create a conference that's really all about the people. While others at MOA had had long seen the value of hosting an event like this, it really was BK's leadership coming in, his passion, that turned this vision into a reality. We think in this space, when you talk about military conferences, there are many that are military focused, but really focused on the mission, what we need in terms of equipment and technology and capabilities that will help to protect our nation, help us to compete with our near peer competitors and really defeat our adversaries. And those conferences are critical. Conferences like AUSA provides, like Navy League, AFA, and the Modern Day Marine. Those are some of those conferences that are in that space. But Total Force Plus is going to be different. It's a conference that's entirely focused on the people. One of our taglines that you can find on our website at totalforceplus.org is that people outrank everything.
That's awesome.
When you think about, I love it. Like that was one of ours that
yeah.
I'm going to get a bumper sticker, I think, with it. So thinking about like our service members, our veterans, our civilians who really do make up our total force, and even our families. Our national defense relies not just on the advanced systems and strategies, but on the talent. I think about the technical expertise of our members that are serving, both in the military and our civilian members that are serving, and our leadership of the individuals that are behind it. So Total Force Plus aims to advance solutions that will support recruitment and retention and readiness by really addressing some of those challenges that are in talent management and leadership development, quality of life in that veteran and retiree experience. Ultimately, this conference is really about creating an immersive experience, an immersive space to foster collaboration, to share expertise, maybe share best practices across all of the services, and really drive meaningful change that will strengthen the foundation of our national security. And we believe that's our people.
So what can attendees expect? What kinds of things are you going to have?
No, that's a great question. And we have a lot of creative people assisting with this, not just at MOA, but we have partners in this conference space that are helping us to really think through how do we make this an experience for the attendees while still focusing on what our leadership at the Pentagon has asked for, because we have met with several of our DoD leaders to really find out what is it that leaders want to see when it comes to addressing the people challenges. So we're focused on solutions. We want to find solutions for some of those toughest challenges when it comes to our national defense in the people space. Our conference is for all services. It's for all ranks. That is something that really does set us apart from some of the other conferences that are out there in the military space. Attendees can expect a truly immersive experience. We're going to be featuring thought-provoking discussions, these interactive sessions, actionable takeaways that are really designed to empower leaders and strengthen the military and veteran community. Something that we really worked hard on with some of our friends at McKinsey. They've helped us in strategizing a little bit here in our conference planning. We wanted to identify 4 enduring themes that we would see year over year at this conference. The first theme is talent management and innovation. So how do we explore strategies to attract and retain and really develop the best talent to ensure that we are a capable and ready force? And this includes our civilian talent. One of the interesting things that we uncovered in some of our interviews over at the Pentagon is that there is a challenge when we talk about that civilian talent pipeline. And so what can the conference do to help address that challenge? The second bucket that we're looking at is leadership development and performance. Really, how do we highlight the importance of preparing leaders so that they can meet the complex demands of serving in this modern military environment? And so we want to make sure that they are able to perform at their best. And so that's some of the individual solutions that we're hoping to bring to the conference. Quality of life is the third bucket, and this is one where we'll be partnering with organizations that's near and dear to my heart, Five and Thrive, so that we can address some of those critical issues that are facing our military families and our service members when it comes to childcare and education and healthcare and housing and spouse employment, so that they have what they need in order to support them so they can thrive.
I think it would be, I think it will be, can I have you back on to discuss this?
Yes, I would love to do that. Thank you so much, Jen. I look forward to sharing more information about this and look forward to
next in the new year. We will do this and talk about it. I thank you all for being on the show, and I wish you a happy holidays. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Have a good night.
Welcome to AHG Connects, where voices, information, and resources are empowered intentionally. Welcome to AHG Connects, where voices, information, and resources are empowered intentionally. Market, advertise, and sponsor your business with Vietnam veteran Cliff Kelly and America's Heroes Group, where information and resources are intentionally disseminated via radio, print, and social media. Call our office for more details at 312-803-2618.
Ken Jennings. All of us here at Jeopardy want to thank you for your service to our nation. We truly honor and appreciate you, and what's more, we're looking for contestants like you to play on our show. So head to Jeopardy.com now and take the Anytime test, and we're looking forward to seeing you soon right here on the Alex Trebek stage.
Where voices, information, and resources are empowered intentionally. Welcome to AHG Connects, where voices, information, and resources
Good evening. Welcome to the America's Heroes Group Roundtable live stream digital media show. My name is Jen Markevich Wagman, president and founder of the nonprofit veteran service organization GenVETS. And today is Wednesday, December 11th, 2024. December is AIDS Awareness and National Human Rights Month. GenVETS is a nonprofit veteran service organization that serves military, veteran communities, and their families and caregivers. We do this by providing tools and resources to help them better understand and navigate VA benefits through our website with published information, live and recorded online VA benefits trainings, as well as live community outreach events that offer live VA benefit training sessions and transition assistance. We also offer veterans pro bono with filing VA claims and benefits and appeals when needed. However, I consider our primary mission to be working to change the narrative between those seeking benefits, resources, and programs, and those who provide them, including government agencies, public and private nonprofits, and foundations. So what does that mean? It means bringing both groups of people to the proverbial table and reintroducing them to each other with a moderator and at times a mediator. That's me. And that happens right here on the America's Heroes Network with this podcast. Generally speaking, Vets with Jen, I have worked for over 20 years in the veteran space for VA, a national VSO, private practice, and alongside many other private veterans nonprofits and charities. And what has become crystal clear over the last 5 years in particular is that a climate of mistrust, miscommunication, misunderstanding, and misperception within the military and veteran communities have created a situation where their overall physical and mental health are being compromised at an alarming rate. In large part, the number who utilize the existing federal and state government programs, services, resources, and benefits available across the board, including those provided by national veteran service organizations, national and local nonprofits, and foundations, all of whom exist to assist or service them with very specific needs, are not being used the way they should be. Both sides need counseling, if you will. And my previous work and experience has allowed me to develop a wide network of people in all of those places who are ready and willing to listen and hear what I bring to them. My experience with my clients and those with whom I meet every day and work with through GenVETS assures me that the military and veteran communities are ready and willing to be heard, but also to listen and to hear what I may have to inform them about concerning their approach toward VA policy, assistance, and benefits. Tonight, my guest here is a retired U.S. Army and intelligence community leader with 23 years of service in the infantry, engineers, and a foreign area officer. He is the band leader of the Over Never Out effort and co-writer of the song Hold On, Reach Out. Welcome tonight to Mr. Jason Houck.
Hey, nice to see you.
How are you?
Not too bad.
So I'm very excited to have you here tonight because I was actually introduced to you by our first guest tonight, Crystal Romero, and she linked the two of us together to sort of get in the mood about this concert that's being held in February, and I had no idea what she was talking about. So, I suppose we could start with the song, and I do want to, but first, can you tell the audience what the event is, and then we'll come back to the song.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're putting on a concert/conference in Nashville, Tennessee. It'll be on the 21st of February, and our host for this event is the John Bon Jovi bar in Nashville, right downtown.
He had me at John Bon Jovi. That was really what. Yes, I will talk to Jason. Okay.
So yeah, it turns out we have this song that we created to help raise awareness about suicide issues in the veteran and the military population. And there was a moment where we were connected to the bar, the JBJ's as it's known, and they said, "Yeah, we'd love to host you, have your concert here." So we are going to gather what we call our partners, which are just nonprofits from across the country that are doing good work to help people to deal with any trauma and issues in their life and get ahead of the suicide problem. So we're going to have them attend, and we've got some great sponsors who are helping us to fund this. We've got it takes a little bit of money to get out to Nashville and do these kind of things. So our big goal: raise awareness, bring the partners and some donors together, share ideas, build some synergy about what we're doing. We've done a number of concerts for different nonprofits to help them fundraise, and that's basically what our band kind of exists for. But we wanted to take this a step further, so we're trying to build a series of concerts/conferences that move around the country and bring together all the people that care about veteran well-being and military well-being in their community, in their county, in their state, and have these discussions with music in the background. So, in the evening there'll be concerts, and we're going to keep pushing on this. There's a lot of people that don't know about how bad the issue is, which way it's trending, how they can help. So we're trying to bring together everybody who cares about solving this problem.
I really like how you phrased veteran well-being, military well-being. That's a great way to phrase that. How did you come up with the idea for the song?
So after the collapse of Afghanistan, I was living outside of Fort Bragg, then Fort Liberty now, in North Carolina, and we just saw the impact immediately. The people who were stationed at that base were in and out of the country for 20 years. It was the one base that constantly had people in Afghanistan for the entire war. So it hit pretty hard with all of the veterans and active military members around there. And we just saw the increase in the suicide rate continuing, and the depression levels really hitting the roof. A lot of people that we thought were very strong committed suicide and took their lives. So we wanted to write a song. A friend of mine named Tony Barnes, who's actually my real estate agent, but he also used to play in Nashville for about 5 years. We wanted to write a song together. I write for a living, and he's a great guitarist. So we sat down one day in my living room after a real estate deal, and in 2 hours we wrote a song about suicide prevention and how to seek help without mentioning the word suicide, and really focusing on getting people to reach out and check on their buddies. If they're doing well, see how your buddies are doing. If you're not doing well, contact your buddies and check in with them, because that's the one group, that's the cohort that knows you the best. And that's kind of what we describe in the song, why it's important to stay in touch with your cohorts from service and to keep an eye on each other.
And the name of the song is?
Hold On, Reach Out. It's available on every platform.
Okay. That was my next question, was where to find it. Hold On, Reach Out.
Yeah, they can go anywhere. We have a Bandcamp site as well. If you want to buy the digital music there, or buy merchandise, we have. If you go to our website, Horo Song, HORO Song.wordpress.com, you can find links to where you can find the music, buy some merchandise, keep up with events, register, and get yourself prepared for the Nashville 2025 event. So that's how we kind of work it. It's all online. But
I will make sure that maybe not tonight, but by, within the next couple days, all of that gets put on the GenVETS website, so that everybody can link up through there as well. So the volunteer band that created that song was you and your partner, and then who else?
Yeah, so we started, Tony and I just put this demo together in my living room with my iPhone, his guitar, and a pad of notepaper. And so we sent the demo to a guy who runs a recording studio outside of in Southern Pines, outside of the base. And he heard it and he said, I want in. I want to help you record it. I want to do anything I can with it. And then he got that was Rob Dufresne, who's a retired Green Beret and other special operations units. And then he got a friend, Chelsea Davis, who has been an LA and Nashville musician for a long time and a touring musician. She played with Berlin and 30 Seconds to Mars. And she said, I want in. I want to produce this for you guys. This is an amazing song. The lyrics are great. So it started with the four of us getting the song written and then kind of coming up with what we thought the song would sound like, working off the demo. And then we just started reaching out to different musicians around us and getting different instruments. We ended up with 5 vocalists and probably about 15 instruments on this song. And we got it mastered by a great mastering engineer who does a lot of Grammy-winning artists. So it's a really powerful song. It sounds like a soundtrack of a movie. So it kind of just kept spilling out. People wanted to be part of it, and we ended up with 11 band members, including, you can hear on the song, 3 strings players from out in Dallas who sat down with an orchestra leader and wrote the strings portion of the song, and we overlaid that on it. So and then our final person who joined the band was John Ondrasik, who is Five for Fighting.
I know John.
he put his vocals on it afterwards, and makes it so powerful. I mean, his voice is so recognizable. So there's just amazing. About halfway through the song, he comes in.
You didn't tell me that. That's amazing. No, yeah. I've met him and I've worked with him, and he's given me permission to use his songs too. I think he's amazing. So that's amazing. That's wonderful. Are you going to perform the song in Nashville?
Yes, our band will probably open up the show, and we'll perform that song and many other country rock hits that we tend to play, and then we'll have 3 or 4 other bands that will play throughout the evening, including my friend Rob Talton's kind of the house band for that bar that I went to high school with. He's the one who connected us to JBJ. So it's going to be a fun evening of music, and it's a wonderful facility. With a number of stages actually on different floors. So
it'll be right?
Really fun.
Okay. I wanted you to describe this more, because I've already have it in my head, because we were talking about the fact that there's not an actual conference center yet where there are going to be where there's the ability to do, like I had said to you, oh, let's trainings and things. And you're like, oh, Jen, slow down. Not yet for this, right? So you said that you thought that maybe, that it would fill up for the, explain to me though, logistically, describe to me.
Day at the Nashville event. So we're going to have people come in the night before. So we're playing on a Friday night. We're going to have people come in on Thursday.
To sleep outside so we can get a good place in.
Exactly. We want you camping on Broadway with the other.
So I know what I have to get. Camping. Yeah. Okay.
But that Thursday night, we hope a lot of people that are coming there from different partners and organizations can get together. We'll connect everybody on email or WhatsApp to make sure everybody can communicate and just enjoy Nashville. And then
I want VIP backstage everything. I'm telling you right now. I'm not kidding.
I don't know who's running the VIP passes.
You better find out, you better find out and make it happen, Captain.
So we'll kind of start the next morning. The bar opens at 10. We'll probably have some events happening before then. We probably may start around 9 o'clock. And what we're looking for, we're still working with and dealing with different venues around the area, are just some spaces where we can hold classes, discussions, deliberations, networking around that area. A Nashville bar is usually narrow and long and not really designed for conferences. So right. The music part happens in the evening and the nighttime at the bar. The other events, the conference portion of it, will happen at other venues around the area that we get permission to use. So there will be kind of classes on different of things that are going on that might be able to help people transitioning classes, VA classes on new technology. One of our big sponsors has created a new technology with a simple blood test that can tell you if your body is fighting trauma.
Wow.
If you have PTS and you don't even know it, and at what scale your body is working to fight it, so you can be treated and you can watch to see if it's going down or up, if you're getting the right treatment. So that's one of those great ideas that will get us ahead of the suicide curve.
This is amazing. I've not
before they
even
go
heard
into
of this
it.
before. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's I Express Genes. It's out of Alabama. A medical facility actually had a traumatic event, and there was a shooter that came in, and to deal with all the trauma afterwards, they wanted to work on a way to make a simple medical test to find out where your trauma is, and how to to track it if it's going high or low, because a lot of people don't even know when they're suffering from it. So they've created a blood test. In February, they'll get a big action from the FDA on it. So we're really excited. That's one of our sponsors for this event, because that could be a game changer for any organization who's dealing with people that are fighting trauma. This is a way to measure where they are on the scale and if the therapies are working.
That's phenomenal.
So that kind of synergy is what we're hoping for.
Yeah. Okay. Did I mention I'll carry the bags of other VIPs? I don't need to.
We can do that.
Okay. I can be put to work. I'm a very good worker bee.
Yeah. So on the other side of the logistics piece, there will be, it is a bar in Nashville, so they fill up with just normal fans that are all around there, right? You can't close the bar down and use it. But we wanted to have this concert there because the Bon Jovi family was very supportive of us doing it there, and they're both children. John, of course, on the road with his band and over the years, but his brother has been his right-hand man, and he runs the bar. And both of them, John and Matt, their parents were in the Marine Corps. So this meant something to them. And very recently, John Bon Jovi was in Nashville and helped, to talk a jumper off the bridge. So, we couldn't think of a better group, and we're so excited that they wanted to help us on this event and be one of our first sponsor.
You are the second person to tell that story on this podcast. Dr. Miller also told the story from VA. He was telling we were talking about musicians and this, and that came up. So it's interesting to me that now it's happening at the bar. So interesting. Yeah. Wow. What kind of what are the other partners that are joining the event not that those aren't amazing ones already, but what else can we expect?
So those are a couple of our sponsors. Our partners are just nonprofits. They don't pay anything to be a part of this. They don't have to give any money. They just come out and show up and try to network and gain some synergy and learn and be smarter at how they run their organizations or how they take care of people. So some that I've known for a long time, Patrol Base Abate, which is a Marine Corps focused team that named it after one of their fallen brothers. And they go up to Montana in 1 or 2 week cycles, and they take a cohort up there and they help them to, rebuild their lives and rethink how they do things. And their cohorts are like, who wants to go fishing? All right, here's a fishing cohort. Here's a book club cohort. Here's a, jujitsu cohort. So they'll go up, they put together a cohort of people who enjoy the same hobby to go up there and spend time together on this 200 acres near a river in Montana. And it's real rural and
is there a nap taking cohort?
I know that's the one I would definitely jump on. So
read a book under a tree by the river.
I've been talking with them for a number of years. I just think you can't say that there's perfect, therapy or event or training for everybody, because everybody needs something different. It's just how people are. I mean, Operation Song will be a part of this as one of our partners. I used Operation Song. I thought it was a wonderful system. I know music is good for your mental health and your well-being. So we'll have them out there. TRR out of New York State is coming. They do a warrior camp. They also do a lot with equestrians. So they use horses to help people get through. We got Shields and Stripes will be out there, who we've done fundraisers for before. They've got a great system as well where they take people out as a cohort and help them figure out how to re-navigate life and deal with trauma. And I've heard some of the people give their testimonies of what it was like to go through that Shields and Stripes program and come out the other side. And it's really moving. Like, they are an effective group. Operation Vet Now is one of our sponsors and partners. They have been working for years to help veteran athletes around the country and military athletes, to sponsor them and get them out there, and everything from race cars to rodeos to skiing, and you name it, they're a part of helping that. And they're out of Pennsylvania. They are also have a band called Task Force Rock that one of my bandmates is also in. So Rob Dufresne on the drums, retired Green Beret, is also in Task Force Rock. And they use the same idea that we've been using, to have a band that goes around the country and helps people to understand the issues and bring things to light and put some energy to the event. So it's not, there's always something that can bring people in and entertain them and make them forget what's going on.
Yes.
Because a lot of these events are pretty serious and somber things. So it's, having a musical act there of veterans is really kind of neat. We talked, Three Rangers Foundation will be out there, Green Beret Foundation, Flanders Fields, who's dealing with homelessness in Memphis, Tennessee, the Hero's Journey that Scott Mann put together, where you're learning to tell your story and learn to be a storyteller and harness the trauma you've been given, and to use that to make yourself stronger at speaking and in understanding the trauma. Wonderful program. I did that in Milwaukee. So we had them in. TAPS as part of it, Team Red, White, and Blue. The Joel Fund, which is also working on homelessness and using the arts here in Wake Forest, North Carolina. So lots of different teams coming in with lots of different ways that they approach the well-being and the care of our veterans and active military members and their families. So we're really excited, and we're continuing to take partners. We want as many people to come as would like to be there. And as we do more events like this, we just want to grow the network and build synergy amongst all those different groups across the country.
I was going to say, I owe you an introduction to Dr. Lynch with the stellate ganglion block, and I'm actually doing that for you right now, because I am hoping he is watching. He had a family event tonight, but I'm going to have him on next month, I hope, and but I will make that happen for the two of you prior to, because I know he is going to be very excited about this effort that you're doing. I just know he is. He and his wife are both. I want the words that want to come out of my mouth, much to my children's chagrin right now. I can't help it. Thebomb.com, so I'm embarrassed for myself. Sorry, everybody I know, family, friends, me in the mirror in about 20 minutes when I go apologize for saying that out loud. But yes, they're amazing. And you're going to love also what he has to do. I just realized that I had said I would give that to you, but getting in touch with him was a little tricky that last week because of Thanksgiving. Yeah. But I will get that to you. And now that I've memorialized it and embarrassed myself all in the same, it's out there. Yes. And we'll do that. So what needs to be done? What do you have anything that you want to throw out there for people who are looking to make travel arrangements or prepare for it? What's your advice? What are your recommendations? Don't do anything secret that I need to do. That's between us.
So far, here, the great part is there's no ticket, there's no cover charge to come into this event. You don't have to register to come to this event. If you want to be a partner, if you want to be a sponsor, if you've got hotel rooms or conference space that you want to give us, or Airbnbs that we can use to cut the costs on this, that's great. But generally, everybody gets themselves there. We get some synergy. We build more awareness. We helped connect Nashville because we're bringing together a lot of local Nashville organizations to make Nashville a stronger place for veteran well-being and for the military community. And we hope to have some active duty folks from Fort Campbell come on down. So hopefully General Sylvia can help us with that. It's just a come on out and enjoy it. It's Nashville. You're probably going to want to stay the weekend and take in all the food and entertainment. I don't know how busy it is in February, so do bring a coat. It might be a little cooler if you have to wait outside for a bit. But we're just excited to be able to do this. What we've noticed is we've worked with all these nonprofits dealing with suicide prevention and talked to veterans and talked to their families and talked to the spouses left behind when someone does take their life. And our ambassador for the song, lost her husband to suicide. So what's really missing is quickly getting help, and not a phone call, but quickly getting in to see somebody face to face in person, or quickly getting a hold of your buddies. So we want to make sure, we're not taking in money from this. We want people to give away money for this. So we want people to give money to these partners that are doing the hard work, because if they have more money, they can do more sessions. They can have more cohorts come through their system. And that is the limiting factor for just about every organization that's dealing with this. And that's the limiting factor for veterans. They can't find some place that will help them now. It doesn't help them 6 months later to see somebody. They need it now. If this is the issue, you've got to get seen. And we want all of these partners to have enough money to do this constantly, because the VA and the DoD cannot do it on their own. They can't. It's going to take a nation, because we've never put our army into a 20-year war. So our military is feeling things that we don't understand. This is a science project. We've just never done this. This is Roman legion type stuff. And I think it's going to take
another excellent point. You're not blaming, you're acknowledging that this is something new. This is something different. It's a science project. We need to come together and look at solutions, and not finger pointing, and not just anger, and doesn't do anyone good. And that's what I'm all about, is trying to bring together people with solution oriented mindsets. And that's it, because it doesn't do any good to just look at why we don't have enough, what's wrong, what's not fixable. Well, I'd love to continue this conversation with you as we get closer, and I'll put all of the resources that you feed to me on our website as well. I need to wrap things up for now, and I wish you a very happy holiday season. We will be talking in the meantime, and if there's anything else I can do for you besides give you what my wrist size is for the VIP band and all that, you let me know. I'm your girl. And I do appreciate you coming on tonight and sharing all this information with everybody. I think what you do is amazing. I really do.
Thanks, Jen. We are looking forward to this.
Yes, you should be. All right. Well, have a wonderful evening and holiday season. And thanks for coming on.
Same to you. Take care.
Bye.
Welcome to AHG Connects, where voices, information, and resources are empowered intentionally. Welcome to Market, Advertise, and Sponsor Your Business with Vietnam veteran Cliff Kelly and America's Heroes Group, where information and resources are intentionally disseminated via radio, print, and social media. Call our office for more details at 312-803-2618.
I'm Ken Jennings. All of us here at Jeopardy want to thank you for your service to our nation. We truly honor and appreciate you, and what's more, we're looking for contestants like you to play on our show. So head to Jeopardy.com now and take the Anytime test, and we're looking forward to seeing you soon right here on the Alex Trebek stage.
Connects, where voices, information, and resources are empowered intentionally.
Let's see.
Welcome to
Hi, everyone. I just need 1 minute here. My computer is acting up. I apologize. I cannot see anybody, so. Just technical difficulties.
Welcome to AHG Connects, where voices, information, and resources are empowered intentionally. Welcome to AHG Connects, where voices, information, and market, advertise, and sponsor your business with Vietnam veteran Cliff Kelly and America's Heroes Group, where information and resources are intentionally disseminated via radio, print, and social media. Call our office for more details at 312-803-20. Welcome to AHG Connects, where voices, information, and resources are empowered intentionally.
I apologize. Good evening. Welcome to America's Heroes Group Roundtable live stream digital media show. And sometimes when we are live, technical difficulties happen and I could not see anything or hear anything. But my name is Jen Markevich Wagman, president and founder of the nonprofit veteran service organization, GenVETS. I just don't have any real computer savvy, technological savvy, and I am so sorry for that. Today is Wednesday, December 11th, 2024. December is AIDS Awareness and National Human Rights Month. GenVETS is a nonprofit veteran service organization that serves the military veteran communities and their families and caregivers. We do this by providing tools and resources to help them better understand and navigate VA benefits through our website with published information, live and recorded online VA benefits trainings, as well as live community outreach events that offer VA benefit training sessions and transition assistance. We also assist veterans with pro bono filing VA claims and benefits and appeals when needed. However, I consider our primary mission to be working to change the narrative between those seeking benefits, resources, and programs, and those who provide them, including government agencies, public and private nonprofits, and foundations. What does that mean? It means bringing both groups of people to the proverbial table and reintroducing them to each other with a moderator and at times a mediator. That's me. And that happens right here on the America's Heroes Network with this podcast. Generally speaking, that's with Jen. I've worked for over 20 years in the veteran space for VA, a national VSO, private practice, and alongside many other private veterans, nonprofits, and charities. And what has become crystal clear to me over the last 5 years in particular is that a climate of mistrust, miscommunication, misunderstanding, and misperception within the military and veteran communities have created a situation where their overall physical and mental health are being compromised at an alarming rate. In large part, the number who utilize the existing federal and state government programs, services, resources, and benefits available across the board, including those provided by National Veteran Service Organizations, nonprofits, and foundations, all of whom exist to assist or service them with very specific needs, are just not being used the way they should be, could be. Both sides are in need of counseling, if you will. And my previous work experience has allowed me to develop a wide network of people in all of those places who I believe are ready and willing to listen and hear what I bring to them. My experience with my clients and those with whom I meet every day and work with through GenVETS assures me that the military and veteran communities are ready and willing to be heard, but also to listen and to hear what I may have to inform them about concerning their approach toward VA policy, assistance, and benefits. Tonight, my guest is Michelle Lang, Executive Director, Operation Honor, Rural Salute. This is a new nonprofit that she recently founded. She has a profound connection to the challenges faced by rural veterans transitioning back into civilian life. She was born and raised in a small town in Pennsylvania. She witnessed firsthand the obstacles that her husband, Chris, a former Army serviceman, encountered upon returning to civilian life. Inspired by their personal struggles and the realization of security of accessible resources for veterans in rural areas, Michelle and Chris founded Operation Honor, Rural Salute. The nonprofit is dedicated to guiding veterans to essential resources, fostering community support, and ensuring that rural veterans are empowered to leading fulfilling lives. Michelle's leadership is driven by her deep commitment to service and her passion for making a lasting impact in the lives of those who have served her country. Good evening, Michelle. How are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing very well despite the technological difficulties that seem to be pounding me from all directions.
That's okay. It's been one of those weeks, so it's all right.
It really has been. And you know what? I learned today from someone I work with who helps me with my own social media that Facebook shut down today or was glitching and Instagram. And so I think it's not just me. So I'm going to go ahead and take that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not. It's everything else. I agree.
Thank you. I'm going to talk to you more often, actually. Are you available, maybe every hour?
Yeah. Well, I mean, my sisters think I am, so
okay. That's about
we'll
right.
Just add you in the queue. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so tell me this, you and I met at a resource fair about a month ago. I was fortunate enough to have you next to me as you watched my son run a booth. And this was a most interesting evening because it was his first time doing this with me. And when I would walk away for a few minutes, he would take over and say some interesting things to people about who I am and what my history is. And I will tell you, leaving a 13-year-old boy who's heard things that his mom has said on bad days, maybe not necessarily the best thing to do. Humorous, but yeah, no, I'm
memorable.
Yes, memorable indeed. But no, I did have the privilege of meeting you and learning about your organization, and it was going to be launched that Friday. So why don't you tell me a little bit about that and how it went and everything else?
Yeah, so we, well, let me back it up. Operation Honor Rural Salute just rebranded. So we rebranded in June. So this has been a long time coming because I started in 2021 under Veteran Help Point. And then through our different events and everything like that, I realized that it's really the rural population that I've been trying to target this whole time. So we just went all in. So we rebranded in June and then quickly kind of picked up pace in the rural veteran space because it's not really like a term that people have talked about a lot. So I think it was the 18th of November, we launched our online community for rural veterans and their families. And I mean, right away, I think whenever we opened the doors, we had like 40 people in there. And it's been picking up engagement. So we have different groups in there where we have a general group where we post about, it looks very similar to Facebook. So you have different groups that you can join within there. So once you get admitted into the group, then there's the general forum that you can be a part of. And that's like, I don't know, funny stories, memes, videos, mental health tips. And those are given to us by, I want to say, I think he's a counselor. I think he's a counselor in training. Anyway, a Marine veteran who works with other veterans. He actually used his experience to go get his counselor degree. He gives us those tips. We have travel tips, all sorts of things in the general forum. And then we have a homesteading forum. We have a military financial wellness, VA loan and real estate one, a millennial rural veteran group. And then we're going to add a couple more groups later on down the road. But yeah, it's just a bunch of information that is kind of hard to find. We're making it easier to find for people and easier for them to just have a community with people that really, really get them. Okay.
And do you have is there a live meeting, or is this completely online?
So it's our online community. And then once a month, we're looking at having a live event in there. So live education, like have somebody talk about benefits for an hour, and that would be like a live thing. Have somebody talk about homesteading, have somebody, you know what I mean? So there will be constantly live, and then eventually, work with some people to do live hiring fairs and things like that.
And are you physically located in one place?
Well, my husband's at Fort Liberty, so we're here in North Carolina, and we have some events lined up in 2025. We're focusing more on North Carolina next year, just because this is the second highest rural veteran population in the United States, followed by Texas. Here in North Carolina, which I guess I wasn't super surprised to learn, but I didn't really realize that until we started doing this work.
I've realized that too. There's a couple other leaders in the service organization world that I've spoken to, and I was actually surprised to learn that as well. But you're among good company, and you probably know that.
That's why we started this here, because I was like, there's no better place to do it than Fort Bragg at the time, Fort Liberty now. But I mean, there's a ton of great people down here. I mean, all the resources that you could think of to help you start a business, start a nonprofit. You just have to start asking. And that's why, like, whenever you're in a rural area, it's like, who do you ask? Who do you talk to?
I have learned so much in starting GenVETS. I feel like I've probably made every mistake in the book. I don't feel like, I know I have. I'm just being kind to myself because I've already made so many mistakes tonight. I used bomb.com. What did you say?
But that's okay.
Oh, no, it's really not. There's a couple things I've done, but I'm going to have to go hate myself in the mirror like a lot. And I hope, if my college age kids like watch this, they're going to make fun of me. And there's others who are listening that are going to mock me incessantly for the next, however, even if I beg for them to edit some of these before this is live, right? But then there's the podcast that'll go up there. I feel like if they really loved me, they would edit some of this stuff, but they don't. They say that they can't, but I just think they won't. There should be some degree of things that could be like, for everybody's best, for our best interest, this should happen, but it doesn't. So I've made some mistakes. Anyway, there are a lot of mistakes that I have made with GenVETS, but I've learned a lot, and just how many different things that are going on in a different space, in a different place, that are shocking. That being one of them, that North Carolina is such an interesting place. I'm not sure any of that made sense either, but
I'm following you. It is an interesting place. I'm interested every day. I don't know. The other day I was like, I have longed to stay somewhere for a while. You know what I mean? And the other day I realized that this was the longest, this house that we're in right now, this is the longest we've lived somewhere. Me personally, this is the longest I've lived somewhere since 2013.
Is that right?
Yeah. And I was like, oh, I thought that would make me feel good, but that really doesn't.
You're a true military wife, right?
Yeah, I don't know if it's the area. I'm a mountains and lake girl, and this, whatever I live in out here it's not it.
Now, your husband is still active duty, correct?
Yeah, so now he's active duty reserve.
Okay. All right. So are you guys finished moving around, or?
I mean, to be determined. It just, you never know. He's hoping that he can stay here for the remainder of his career with what he wants to do. I guess he wants to switch MOS again. I don't know. I truly am along for the ride, and I just make it work wherever we go. He's just everywhere. He's everywhere.
Well, when I spoke to you first, what intrigued me about the way that you spoke about rural vets or rural salute. I apologize. How do you refer to the organization for short?
Operation Honor.
Operation Honor. So that's how I'll say it. Operation Honor is that you seem to be traveling around. You were talking about events that you had planned, and I thought to myself, how is she doing it? Because I know that I have, I'm still I have an advisory board. I'm working on more carefully, developing my board, and I have big ideas. My board or my officers are actually scattered. Like my number 2 is all the way in Hawaii. And if I am, all the time, he is the antithesis of me. He is calm. He is organized. He's Obi-Wan Kenobi, and just honestly, he's military, and he will sit me down and say, now I want you to think about what you did. I want you to think about and reflect on. And I'm like, okay. and puts everything in perspective. But so when I think about the organization and what our goals are and what the mission is and how to accomplish those things, it is both local and national, but getting all of those things accomplished, I find it difficult sometimes to answer how to do those things. What? So I'm wondering the same for you. You focus on North Carolina, but with your online presence, you cater to all across the country. Do you anticipate having some of those live events be created by cohorts that are created in different states?
So I would like to ideally have ambassadors in every state.
Great. That's the word.
I kind of did it a little bit wonky because I'm from Pennsylvania. And so I knew that I had a built-in volunteer system in Pennsylvania. I knew that I could guarantee my family would help me because that's just what we do.
Yes.
So I do a lot of my events in Pennsylvania to start. And it wasn't until I've shown up to like resource fairs and stuff down here in North Carolina and kind of network behind the scenes a lot down here. But I've never done my own event. And I have some board members now that are in North Carolina, and they've really encouraged me to like, hey, the one board member is like, hey, I really want to get stuff done in North Carolina, really pushing that. And I agree. This is prime place to do that because of the large rural veteran population. They need these resources, and just like this population is sort of unloved. So an opportunity to get on to love this population down here in rural areas with rural people, word of mouth is everything. And that spreads like wildfire.
So what's your number one priority as an organization?
So we have a couple different pillars, and we're kind of doing everything at the same time. So number one, the top 3 priorities really. One is our resource database, which we started out with Veteran Help Point building a really robust resource database where I was pinpointing on maps every small local nonprofit that could help somebody in their own backyard. So I was really scouring the country. And that was a lot of work. Now we've changed it to a smaller group of resources, and the way that we present them allows there to be a little bit of a thread of trust built up before somebody goes and uses that resource. So we're doing it a little bit differently. We're thinking about our demographic a little bit differently. And then we have the community where we can really get that good, solid information from subject matter experts to this community. And then our third pillar is our in-person events. So long-term goal is to do an Operation Honor event in each 50 state every year, once a year. Last year, in June, we did a 2-day festival, and we're doing that again in June in Pennsylvania. We're going to do another one in North Carolina in September, and then adding a couple more events that are smaller, more fundraising focused in 2025.
What do you see as the biggest obstacle for rural veterans? Is there one particular thing that separates them from the other population? Is there?
Distance is the number one, just physical isolation. So a lot of the people I talk to, especially among the older veterans, transportation is an issue. Like they just can't get to their doctor's appointments even if they wanted to. So that's an issue, number one. Even if they could, they're probably not people that are going to be using telehealth unless there was a familiar place that had telehealth available that they could go to, which we are working on seeing what that looks like. So physical isolation, also not having a lot of groups that you can go, like there are not a lot of meetups happening in rural areas where you can go and talk to other people with similar interests as you. So how are you getting those bits of information? How are you sharing your struggles, what you need help with? You're really not. So people, even more so in rural areas, are suffering in silence and just like trudging through and getting the work done.
So when you say they transportation and that they wouldn't use online virtual appointments, does that include VA appointments that they don't use? Is it why is that? What is the holdup there?
The older population they don't know how to do it. I mean, we had QR codes at our event and people didn't know how to use them. Yeah. And that's just like, we're always behind the times in rural areas. It's a much slower, simpler life. And that's sort of one of the reasons why I love rural areas. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a really big misconception where people get things like, oh, people in the rural areas, country folk, they're stupid. And it's like, not at all. They are some of the smartest people that you've ever met. I mean, they could look at a machine and they could tell you how to take it apart and put it back together, fix it. I mean, somebody that was born in the city is not going to know how to do these things. It's very different. It's just, there's some things they just can't be bothered with.
Right. Well, their lack of desire to adapt to one doesn't necessarily mean stupidity. It's a priority. It's a mental state. It's, there's a lot of that. That's a different conversation, but mm-hmm. I understand. But transportation and getting to doctor's appointments is not it. That isn't just a veteran-specific problem for rural communities. It is definitely something that the population struggles with, I think, in general, and when you're dealing with elderly patients as well. Is there one one priority that you have with, I would say, with VA that you handle, or that you're that's a priority? Is there one priority with VA that you would undertake on behalf of veterans?
I really would love to help establish more trust between veterans and the VA. Personally, we started our nonprofit in 2021 because my husband got denied care at the VA and became suicidal. So we did not have a good relationship. And that was just that one place. That was that one location. When I started talking to more people in other VA systems, they care a lot. They really, really do. And unfortunately, a lot of times, one bad apple spoils it for, the rest of your life, and you're missing out on this care and these benefits. So I would really love to help the VA have more of a presence in rural areas and establish that trust. That way veterans can get the care that they need, that they've earned.
Well, I'd love to be a part of that with you. And we've talked about partnering, and I think that together we can do that. And both with me providing, the veterans benefits training and things like that, which I am more than happy to do, whether both in person, traveling down and to do this for you, the live trainings, your virtual trainings, and also to be clearing up some of those misconceptions, misperceptions, some of which aren't necessarily to say that those things didn't happen and that, that they're wrong to be feeling the way they are, because they're not. Mm-hmm. But it's just sort of a coming together and figuring out where to go from here, and to understand that there are differences in the way things are being done now. And like I've said before, both parties need to understand where mistakes have been made and where things can be improved. And I know that the agency is absolutely willing to listen and to understand where that has happened before. And I'd like to be part of that solution with you. So I thank you very, very much for being part of this conversation tonight, and look forward to working with you again in the future. And please keep me posted, us posted. You're welcome. Please come back again to talk about things as they come up.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, well, have a very happy holiday season, and I look forward to talking to you soon.
Yeah, you as well.
Thank you. Have a good night.
See ya.
Bye.
Welcome to AHG Connects, where voices, information, and resources are empowered intentionally. Welcome to AHG Connects, where voices, information, and resources are empowered intentionally. Market, advertise, and sponsor your business with Vietnam veteran Cliff Kelly and America's Heroes Group, where information and resources are intentionally disseminated via radio, print, and social media. Call our office for more details at 312-803-2618. Market, advertise, and sponsor your business with Vietnam veteran Cliff Kelly and America's Heroes Group, where information and resources are intentionally disseminated via radio, print, and social media. Call our office for more details at 312
Ken Jennings. All of us here at Jeopardy want to thank you for your service to our nation. We truly honor and appreciate you, and what's more, we're looking for contestants like you to play on our show. So head to Jeopardy.com now and take the Anytime test, and we're looking forward to seeing you soon right here on the Alex Trebek stage.
And sponsor your business with Vietnam veteran Cliff Kelly and America's Heroes Group, where information and resources are intentionally disseminated via radio, print, and social media. Call our office for more details at 312-803-2618.
32. We got 1 minute. Go ahead.
Welcome to Stage Black. I am Daphne Wright. I'm here with my co-host, Latia Suttle. Today's show will feature retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel Patricia Jackson Kelly. Patricia Jackson Kelly is a military veteran and a retiree of the United States Army and a veteran of the United States Air Force and Navy Reserves, having served our country collectively for 26 years. Amazing. She earned the rank of Lieutenant Colonel after serving honorably on both active duty and in the reserves. Lieutenant Colonel Jackson Kelly recently completed a 4-year impressive term as the national president of the National Association of Black Military Women, with chapters all across the United States. She was also recently inducted into the U.S. Army's Women Foundation Army Hall of Fame. That was recent, like March of this year. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
While serving our nation in the armed forces and post-service, Lieutenant Colonel Jackson Kelly served as the program manager for a 40-bed substance abuse ward and as the Women's Veteran Program Manager with the Department of Veteran Affairs in Los Angeles, right?
Right.
Okay. During her term on the executive staff, she was instrumental in implementing programs and increased funds and resources for women veterans. During her time at the VA hospital, she served as one of the initial board members during the inauguration formation of U.S. Vets. Wow. U.S. Vets is one of the largest veteran service organizations. Outstanding. Patricia Jackson Kelly is also the commander of the County of Los Angeles, Supervisor Holly Mitchell, 2nd District, Military and Veteran Affairs. She is also the immediate past commander for the American Legion Jackie Robinson 252 Post. Most recently, she was appointed by the Secretary of the Veteran Affairs Sexual Assault and Harassment Prevention Task Force Work Group, covering national concerns and issues. She has been received awards and commendation from President George W. Bush, California's Governor's Office, 2006 through 2009, NAACP, Blacks in Governments, and many top community awards. In 2010, she was selected as the Southern California Women of the Year by the California Department of Veteran Affairs. She was the inaugural recipient of the PFC Gladys Schuster. Is that Schuster?
Oh, Carter.
Okay. Lost my place. Sorry. Carter Trailblazer Award in August of 2012. She was recognized by the former Department of Veteran Affairs Secretary Robert McDonnell for her service on the National Center for Minority Veterans Committee from 2015 to 2017. Lieutenant Colonel Jackson Kelly was one of the honorees for the National Daughters of the American Revolution Women in American History 2021 to 2022. She received the prestigious award of African Focus Goodwill Lifetime Achievement Award. Welcome to Stage Black, Lieutenant Colonel Patricia Jackson Kelly.
Yes, welcome. Thank you.
Wow, that was impressive. I got tired after reading that. Are you tired yet?
I got tired of listening.
Well, you surely have a impressive legacy that you're continuing to embody every day. And I'm proud to be in the number with you one more time. I know we've been in quite a few events.
Yes.
So I know you served in 3 military branches: the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force. Can you explain how long you served in each, and just how did that come in fruition?
Okay, my first branch of service was the Navy Reserves. I joined the Navy Reserves in 1977, and I joined with the intent of becoming an officer because I was a hospital corpsman second class. I was a nurse, and I had an associate degree, and you needed a bachelor's in order to be an officer. So I was in school for my bachelor's. And once I got my bachelor's, I went to the commanding officer and told him that I'm ready to be an officer now. And he told me that he didn't have any female billets in the branch. So I applied for the Army Reserves. I went for my physical at in Brooklyn, and I didn't hear from them for about a month and a half. So I called, and they had no record of my having been there. So I applied for the Air Force Reserves, and the recruiter suggested that I go on active duty opposed to going in the reserves. And he explained to me that I could have a lucrative career and that I could go in as an officer and be able to travel and many perks. Okay. So I signed on to go active duty Air Force. And I was in the Air Force for 4 years, 3 months, and 27 days. And then I went into the Air Force Reserves. At the time, my son was very young, and I had to go up to March Air Force Base for my training. So I found out that there was an Army base close to my house. So then I transferred to the Army Reserves. And
now, so you could be closer to your house?
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I didn't have to leave him overnight. So I spent 15 years in the Army Reserves, and I retired in 2003.
Okay. Now, how did you get from Brooklyn to March Air Reserve Base? Brooklyn, New York?
Once I went on active duty, I was stationed at Travis Air Force Base.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was stationed in California, and then I went to Largest Fields, Azores. And when I returned, I came back to California. And so once at George Air Force Base, and I've always wanted to come to California. That was one of the incentives of joining the military. I told him if I could get California, that I would go in. And so he told me I got Travis Air Force Base. Okay. And I went in as a captain on active duty.
Okay. Impressive that you were able to negotiate all of this, because in the 70s, it was really rough for women in the military. So that was awesome. Being, putting your education first was a goal. And then ultimately when you had your family, putting your family first. So that was your incentive for changing branches.
Right.
Okay. So when you became an officer, you sort of explained how it sort of transpired, but can you tell us a little bit more about your journey being an officer? Like what, I know you said what commands you were at, but what were your jobs? I know you were a nurse. So did you work in a hospital, or did you work, in the admin position?
When I was at Travis, I worked my first assignment was a med-surg unit. And that was very traumatic because I had never done medical nursing. I had always done psychiatric or baby clinic. And so it was devastating, really, trying to learn the new machines and everything. And so finally I went to the chief nurse and I told her that I could not do that anymore. And then they transferred me to the pediatrics ward. But the recruiter had told me that I would get pediatrics when I went into the military because that's what my background was in, all psych. So after I was on pediatrics for a few months, I got orders to go overseas. And so overseas was like the hospital was a very small hospital. Sometimes it was closed when there was no patients. So I did admin there as well as all types of nursing, because sometimes if you had some of the civilian women, excuse me, you would have to do maternal care, so you had all types of nursing, trauma, because you had motorcycle accidents over there. So it was a great,
So
quite
you did
an
a whole
exposure.
rainbow of different
Right.
stuff, because I know you're really out, in reading your resume, I know you're really strong in not only in your skill set as a nurse, but you also have a really strong skill set on the admin side,
Right.
because you were able to navigate both of those worlds while you were in the military.
Right.
I wanted to know about the officer part. I know you said you got your bachelor's degree and then you went in as a captain. Some people have to go through the service academies to become an officer or ROTC. So because you had your bachelor's degree, you automatically were able to become an officer, or they sent you to
No,
additional-
it was actually because I had experience as a registered nurse. My experience with my associate degree, I had been a nurse for about 7 years before I went on active duty. So they took my civilian experience coupled with my little military experience that I had, and they designated the rank of captain.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you didn't have to go through like an officer's
I
training?
went to officer basic course was 2 weeks in San Antonio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it was quite I guess a euphoric experience, because I was a captain and that was considered a high rank.
Yeah, because they were probably lieutenants.
Right,
or-
lieutenant.
Mhm.
Most of them were lieutenants. I think there were a couple lieutenant colonel who was a physician. So I didn't realize the magnitude of the rank until I got there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Good to know.
So you made a big transition from the military to the civilian world, but you continue to serve your community of veterans. So I in reading your resume, I noticed that you were the women's program manager, and you did a lot of stuff for women. Can you tell us a little bit about your positions you held at the Department of Veteran Affairs? I know you've gotten a couple of awards from several different secretaries of the VA for the work that you have done with the women and the vets as a whole. So can you just give us an overview of what that transition was like for you?
Well, my initial position, I was at the VA when I first got out of the military, and I was a staff nurse in the psych ward. It was considered a family unit. And I was there for maybe 18 months, and I just felt that I had more to offer than be a staff nurse. So I left and I took an administrative position at a home health agency. And after I had been away for maybe a couple of years or so, one of my friends who was a supervisor called me and told me they had an open position for a head nurse on the 40-bed substance abuse ward. And so I applied for it and I was selected. So working on the 40-bed substance abuse ward, we had very few women to come through. Usually there were no more than 3 at a time. So 3 women with 37 men. You can imagine what that was like. And so I found myself constantly advocating for the women and trying to be assured that they were safe. So I had suggested that they move them to close to the nurses station. And I made sure that people would knock before they entered their room. And whenever they came to me with issues, I would address them. So I had an affinity for the women veteran, I guess. And that's how, when this job came up as the women veteran program manager, I felt that I was perfect for that job. And so I applied for it.
Well, in a sense, you sort of forced the VA to make that position because there was not a position.
Yeah, well, actually, the national decided that there will be, I think there were 20 of us nationwide. And so I was one of the 20. It was either 20 or 21. And so I was one of those selected.
Okay. So the VA has, well, there's this talk about, there's going to be this new Trump administration, and they're talking about overhauling the VA healthcare system, I guess making it more privatized. What are your thoughts about if that occurs?
If that occurs, it would be devastating. I feel that the people that are making those decisions are not aware of the real VA and how it operates. And I think that maybe they should try working there for a few weeks before they make decisions like that. And I know that Hespec, he has said that he didn't feel that veterans were entitled to care unless they were service connected or had a disability. So I think that would be a disservice to our veterans. And I think that eventually the system will go broke if they privatize. There's just no way that you could have the private physician address the things that are being addressed at the VA level.
Yeah, because some of them, they don't understand that culture. I do notice a difference, with understanding veterans and their experience.
And that's a big point about the culture, because it's not just treating the disability, it's also treating the veteran, because there's such things as moral injuries that don't come under any particular category.
Absolutely.
And they, even prior to Trump, they were talking about privatizing it, but they saw that it didn't work. Even with the community care options, a lot of times at the end of the fiscal year, they're running out of money to pay the community care options. So if that's already happening, it's sort of like you said, I think will put a stress on the system.
Oh yes, definitely.
Yeah. So I know you said you joined the military in 1977, but there has been a lack of stories about military women. Like, I would have never thought women were serving in the military when I was a little girl, because I didn't see that where I was from, So, what's it been like to try to share the stories, especially of Black service women that have served in the military? With there's a new movie out now, the 6888. So
it's been a challenge, and I think that the reason why is that for some reason our culture is we do things and we feel that we are doing them, and we just don't need the credit for doing it. And I think that some of us are too modest. We don't toot our own horn. And I think that the other reason is, I think that for some reason, the women have a tendency to sabotage each other.
Yeah, and I think that's what we were always taught, because it can only be one or two of us at any given thing. It's like you said, 40 beds, it was only 3 women. And that was, what year was that?
That was in 92, I think.
So now here we are, 2024. The same VA has only 10 beds for women in the drug and alcohol treatment program. So only an increase of 7 beds in over 30 years. So that shows sort of like the mentality of, are there ideas that you have in mind on how we can get these stories out there more. And I know you belong to an amazing organization, the National Association of Black Military Women, and I know you guys are working hard to tell these stories.
Well, see, what's really interesting to me is, if you notice, there's a lot of organization now saying, tell your story.
Mm.
And when you look back at the history of the National Association of Black Military Women, we were created for that purpose only.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have women in the military service. Their focus is telling the story. You have so many other organizations that are out there saying, we want you to tell your story. When we know that the purpose of the National Association of Black Military Women is to tell the story of Black military women, because that was not being told at all.
Mm-hmm. And the organization has been around since 20, 30 years?
Yes.
Yeah. So
yes.
Been telling, even it was started by some of the members of the
688.
Right.
But I never heard that before.
Mm-hmm.
I never heard that before until Carlton Philpott, who was instrumental in doing the monument.
Mm-hmm.
We were at convention,
Mm-hmm.
and he called and he said to me, would we be interested in helping to fund the memorial?
Mm-hmm.
And one of our members started a collection.
Mm-hmm.
And we collected money and sent to the memorial.
Mm-hmm.
And then Stephanie Dawson, who's the prior president before I was,
mm-hmm.
she attended the memorial. She and Ruby
Mm-hmm.
Robertson, who lived there. And so that's how we really got involved with the 6888. And as a result of that, I got to meet a few of the members. And one in particular is the one that the movie portrays, is Lena King.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to her home and I visit with her. And we had kind of a friendship before she passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so pleased to hear Tyler Perry say that she saw the movie before she passed,
mm-hmm.
while she was in hospice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think that we have to have more platforms like this.
Mm-hmm.
We have to make sure that we are telling the story. We have to make sure that the young people get involved.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know about women veterans. Some of them have no idea that women serve in the military. Mm-hmm. So we need to go into the schools during Veterans Day and speak with the kids and let them know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know I went through my whole military career, 20 years, and never heard of the 6888. There was nothing. I traveled overseas, different bases throughout the United States, and never heard that until after I got out and, learned about the National Association of Black Military Women. And then also when I met you at the library in Inglewood, right. That was my first time seeing the first documentary about the 6888. And then some of the daughters was there, and I just, generally talking to them, and it's like, you all here to see the film? And they're like, yeah, our mother's in the film. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So there's, family members and right here, and some of the service,
And we went to when they got awarded their.
Yeah, we had a, ceremony after they were awarded their Congressional Gold Medal. And there were some other women that were buried right there in the Inglewood Cemetery, and other families didn't know the other families were buried right there in a local cemetery.
Their house, and we were able to talk to the daughters, and it just touched my heart. Like I'm a writer, and I want to be able to implement something, like you said, even if it's twice a year, Women's History Month in March and in November, where people can sit and write their stories,
mm-hmm.
Do a 6-week thing leading up to that, have mm-hmm. a take something, because we do need to tell our story.
Mm-hmm. Right. Even in December, when they have a Reefs Across America, but I think they only do that at National Cemetery. But some of these women are buried in regular local cemeteries. They're not buried at, all of them are not buried at, the Veterans Cemetery or whatever.
Because they didn't back in those days, like Lieutenant Colonel was saying, they didn't really recognize our service like you know, like it should be. And it's still a challenge to this
Right.
day.
Yeah, even some of them came back home and didn't share. Like, you know, like she
Right.
said, they're very modest, or people didn't really, you know, acknowledge them. So they thought less of what they did, and they didn't even share it with their children. So some of
Right.
their children didn't even know that they had served. So
Absolutely.
yeah, but we all got to do a better job of telling our stories and ensure that it's taken down, passed down to the other generations and documented.
Right.
But what are your thoughts about the 6888 movie?
I thought it was very well done. And I just hope that people will not take away from the fact that there were other members who should be highlighted as well.
Yeah, because it was 855
right.
women. Yes.
Yeah. And we just had the one, Miss Lena King, who was highlighted in that movie. You know, so I thought it was well done. And I just feel so honored that I spent some time talking with Kerry Washington. She was an ideal person to play that role as Major Adams, Charity Adams.
Yes.
So
Yes, she did a wonderful job.
yeah.
But we want to thank you for joining us. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your continued service in the community with all of these organizations and your mentorship. We really appreciate it. We also want to thank AHG and want to thank Daphne here for her service and all that she does. If you want more information about Stage Black, you can visit our website at www.stageblack.org. Thank you.
Stage Black always been here and not going anywhere. So look for us next month.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're on.